Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing great. My name is Nancy, and if you're new to my channel, kindly subscribe, share and like my videos, and also put on your notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos. The amount of fabric I use for the printed fabric is 3 yards. Why? For the crepe fabric I used a fat quarter of a yard, and I also made use of a fashion trimming tape which is 1 inch wide and 4 yards in length to design on the crepe fabric. To cut out the front piece, you should fold the fabric into two. The first line is the shoulder line, and below this line I will mark half an inch for the shoulder allowance to which it will be attached to the back piece. The next step is to place all the vertical measurements by placing the tape starting from this second line. Next line is the bust line, which is gotten by dividing the armhole circumference into two. The next line is the waist line, which is 15 inches. The next vertical line is the hip line, which is 25 inches. And the full length of the gown is 57 inches plus 2 inches sewing allowance, and that will be 59 inches altogether. The next step is to mark the neck measurements. For the neck width, I will make use of 3.5 inches, and for the neck depth, I'll make use of 5 inches. Now I'll connect these 2 points together. Our shoulder measurement is 16 inches divided by 2. I have 8 inches plus half an inch sewing allowance, and that will be 8.5 inches. Now I'll mark 1 inch below this 8.5 inches I marked to connect it to the neck width. The next step is to extend the shoulder measurement vertically downwards to the bust line. Now I'll place my tape on this vertical line to mark the midpoint to form the armhole curve. The next step is to place the measurement of the bust circumference on the bust line plus 3 inches sewing allowance to the side. The next measurement is the waist circumference on the waistline plus 3 inches sewing allowance to the side. And on the hip line, I'll place the hip circumference plus 3 inches sewing allowance to the side. To get the measurements for the circumference of the hem line, I'll place the tape on the hip line with the sewing allowance included. Here I have 14 inches. Now I'm going to place this tape directly on the hem line to mark 14 inches plus 3 inches sewing allowance to the side. On this edge, I'll mark 1.5 inches vertically. And on the hem line, I'll mark 5 inches horizontally to connect the points together. To achieve the back piece, the next step is to fold the fabric into two. Now I'm going to place the front piece on the folded fabric, and the difference between the front piece and the back piece will be the zipper allowance and the neck depth. So this extra fabric at the side here is for the zipper allowance, which is about 1.5 inches wide, and the neck depth for the back piece is 2 inches. I have achieved both the front piece and the back piece. The next step is to cut out the crepe fabric for the neck design on the front piece of the kaftan. To achieve this neck design, I'll place my tape horizontally on the shoulder line to mark a distance of 2 inches from the shoulder tip. Since I already marked a half length to be 15 inches, I'll connect these 2 inches points I marked on the shoulder line to this waistline in form of a triangle. So this simply means that if the waistline is 16 inches, you have to connect these 2 inches you marked away from the shoulder tip to that 16 inches. But here we won't be cutting the Ankara. I only marked this to guide me on how to cut the neck design on the crepe fabric. So the next step is to fold the crepe fabric into two. The printed fabric is also folded into two already. Now I'm going to place the printed fabric on the crepe fabric as shown. To trace out the neck depth and the neck width. And to also mark the length of the triangle. Now I'll take this out to connect these 2 points together as shown. The next step is to add half an inch to the side of the slant line. So just because there's a neck slit, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches from the neck depth downwards, and I'll also repeat the same for the crepe fabric. The next step is to open the folded front piece, then you also open the crepe fabric. Now I'm going to place the crepe fabric directly on the neckline as shown. For instance, if you do not want to place the fashion trimmings on the crepe fabric and you just want to make use of just the crepe fabric, all you have to do is to fold the edges of the crepe fabric in by half an inch. Then you take it to your sewing machine to secure the sides. Since my clients want the trimmings placed on the plain fabric, all you have to do now is to pin the crepe to the printed fabric without folding the edges in by half an inch. The next step is to take the front piece to the sewing machine to secure the edges of the crepe directly on the Ankara fabric. After securing the crepe to the Ankara fabric, the next step is to cut a facing. Just to make sure that your sewing is very neat, you take the facing to the sewing machine to secure the edges in by half an inch. So I will place the facing directly on the neckline to secure the neckline by half an inch. So I've gotten to the stage where I need to place the trimmings on the crepe fabric. So the first place I'll place this trimming is directly on the edges of the crepe, since we didn't fold it in by half an inch, just to make sure that the rough edges is properly covered. For the first trimming, I'll be taking the measurements by placing it directly on the edges of the crepe as shown. This is 38 inches, but the trimming length here is 40 inches. So I folded this trimming into two and made sure that I held about half inch upward and placed it directly on the sharp edge of the triangle. To pin just the sharp edge, to get the length of the next trimming, take the measurements of one side of the edge as shown. Now to know where to place it, you have to mark 2.5 inches above the triangle tip. I'm going to fold the trimming into two to place it directly on the 2.5 inches point I marked. To place the third trimming, I will mark 2.5 inches above the second trimming as shown. Then I'll also mark 1 inch on the shoulder slope as shown. To fold trimming into two and to place it directly on the 2.5 inches point I marked. To place the fourth trimming, I'll mark 2.5 inches above the third trimming and also mark 1 inch distance away from the shoulder slope as shown. to fold the trimmings into two and place it directly on the 2.5 inches point I marked. Just to make sure that the trimming looks professionally done and neat, I'll be making use of a regular thread with the same color of the trimming. And the next step is to take this to the sewing machine to secure both sides of the edges of the trimming. Now I've secured the edges of the trimming, and you can see that it actually looks like I placed a lace directly on the printed fabric. So the next step now is to secure the neckline of the back piece. So I already cut out the facing, and I'll take the facing to the sewing machine to secure the edges of the facing by 1/2 inch. The next step is to place the facing directly on the neckline to secure the neckline by 1/2 inch. So after securing the neckline of the back piece, I'll place the two sides of the back piece on each other. To mark the zipper allowance. For the zipper, I placed my tape on the neck depth downwards to mark 19 inches because that is where I want the zipper to stop. But if you want it to go below that, you can mark 22 inches. Now from this 19 inches, I'm going to mark a vertical line downwards to the hem, and the distance between the center of the back piece to this zipper allowance is about 1.5 inches. The next step is to take this to the sewing machine to secure the 19 inches downwards to the hem. To also fix the zipper, the next step is to remove the bulge zipper, and to achieve this you are going to make a short dart at the back. To mark the dart length, I'll place my tape from the shoulder slope to mark 12 inches, and on this 12 inches point I'll place the tape horizontally to mark the distance between the zipper and the dart, which is 6 inches wide. Now on this 12-inch point I marked initially, I'm going to place my tape starting from that point to mark the length of the dart I'll be working with, which is 13 inches. To mark the midpoint of this vertical line, and to also mark 1/2 inches on both sides. Now I'll connect this point to the tip of the line as shown. The next step is to make the same markings on the other side of the back. After marking the darts on both sides of the back piece, I'll take this to the sewing machine to secure the darts. With this dart at the back of your kaftan, you won't be having any fold at the back, and there is a second method in which you can achieve this by removing the bulge zipper and not using any dart at all, but that will be done in the next tutorial where I'm going to be making another kaftan. So now the next step is to place the facing of both the front piece and the back piece together as shown, and also placing the shoulder slope together. Now I'll pin this and to take this to the sewing machine to secure the shoulder slope by 1/2 inch. So at this stage, you can place a hemming gum inside the facing just to gum it together with the main fabric itself. And the next step now is to fold the right side of the fabric on each other. And I am going to further fold the front piece and the back piece into two equally as shown to mark where I want the pocket to begin. Since the half length is 15 inches, I'll add 2 inches to that, and that'll be 17 inches. So this means that the pocket will begin from this 17 inches. While the wideness of the pocket is 7 inches, now I'm going to use my scissors to notch both points I marked. So if you are very used to cutting kaftan, you realize that after cutting the armhole of your kaftan, it usually has this pocket shape at the sides from the extra fabric. So I have about 4 of this curved shape, and I need to place them on top each other. So the only thing I need to do is to place my tape on these curved edges to mark 10 inches. So this means that the length of the pocket is 10 inches. And the wideness of the pocket is also 10 inches. Now I'm going to pin the 4 pockets to the sides of the kaftan. The next step is to secure the sides of the kaftan by 1.5 inches as shown. And after securing the sides of the gown, the next step is to secure the hem of the gown by folding it in. For the sleeve, I bought half yard of this lace, and I'm going to fold it into 4 so it gives me 2 sleeves. The length of the straight sleeve is 10 inches, but I made it 11 inches, so after joining it becomes 10 inches. And the cap sleeve is 4 inches. On the cap sleeve line, I'll place the armhole circumference divided by 2 to connect it to the tip of the starting line. The next step is to get the midpoint of this slant line to connect it above that line by half an inch and connect it below that line by half an inch. The next step is to place the round sleeve measurements on the length of the sleeve, after which I'm going to add the sewing allowance of 1.5 inches to the side. To get the wideness of the printed fabric I need, I'll place my tape on the sleeve opening of the lace. This is 18 inches. To multiply it by 2, and that'll be 36 inches. So the length of this fabric is 8 inches, while the width is 36 inches wide. So I place the printed fabric directly on the sleeve opening to pleat it completely. Now I'll also take this to the sewing machine to secure the pleats to the lace. The next step is to secure the hem of the pleated sleeve opening by folding it in by half an inch and further folding it in by half an inch. Now I'm going to fold the sleeve into two to secure the side by 1 inch. The next step is to attach the sleeve to the armhole of the dress by half an inch. Alright guys, I hope this tutorial was helpful, and if you are new to my channel, kindly subscribe, share and like my videos, and also put on your notification bell to be notified when I upload new videos.